Hey guys, what's up, and welcome to Women in the Photo Pit, a music photography podcast. My name is Boston, and I started doing this podcast to interview badass women concert photographers. And this week, I am super stoked about this interview because I am talking to Shannon Wilk, who is a young female concert photographer and incredibly talented. I have been obsessed with her work, and I am so excited to talk to her and have her share her story, how she got started, and what she's learned along the way. So we're just gonna jump right into her interview. Thank you so much for joining me today, Shannon. I'm so happy to have you here with me because I have seen you online and we've been Facebook friends actually for I think a little bit, and I'm just so excited to talk to you because I have so many questions. But before we jump into any of that, I'm just going to let you speak for yourself. Can you give us a quick intro of like who you are, like how you got started in this industry, and like what you do and your full background here?
Okay, yeah. So I'm Shannon. I'm a music journalist, photographer, and musician. I'm from Connecticut, and I also happen to be 13 years old. Uh, I have my own publication called Rockin Interviews, and I also write for another publication called Amplified Edge. I started photography about 2 years ago after my dad had rediscovered his love for concert photography. And this year I was a member of the media team on the Monsters of Rock cruise, which was incredible. And I shoot mostly rock and metal artists, but I love shooting everything music related. So
Nice. Yeah, I love that. I feel like I came upon your photos because I shoot a lot of rock and metal, and I'm very familiar with the Monsters of Rock cruise. So I think that's how I stumbled upon you previously, and I love your work. So I find it wild that you said that you've only been shooting for 2 years.
yeah.
Wow, that's awesome. And you're doing so much. Okay, before we get more into that, let's do some quick fire questions. Are you a Nikon, Canon, or a Sony person? Or other?
Uh, I use primarily Nikon right now.
Oh, cool. Another Nikon buddy. Yeah. If you could describe your like concert photography style, your editing style, like how would you describe it for people that are watching?
I try to keep as much emotion in my pictures as possible. I usually keep the color vibrant. I like to do that a lot. And I like my photos to tell a story as much as possible.
Nice, nice. What was your favorite show that you've ever photographed?
I have so many, but a couple of them I got to shoot Alice Cooper, Godsmack. Godsmack was actually my first show I ever shot in arena, so that was pretty cool.
That's
uh,
awesome.
I also really liked shooting Extreme. I shot them at a big festival in Connecticut. It was really incredible, and those are just some of my favorites that I can recall offhand.
And then what's your like bucket list shows? What do you really want to shoot that you haven't yet?
I definitely want to shoot Motley Crue because they've been like my favorite band my whole life. So that would be incredible. Def Leppard is another one, and also Whitesnake. Like three big names, of course.
It's so funny that you mentioned those because those guys are on my bucket list too. Def Leppard for sure, but like Motley Crue had a tour that's now canceled due to the virus, or maybe
Yeah,
it's not yet because it's like
yeah. I don't think it's officially announced, but I think everyone like there has been putting out rumors about it and whatnot.
yeah, because it's like later this year, and then I bought tickets to see Whitesnake this year because they're finally coming to the U.S. and it was like
Yeah,
yeah, and then I think that's gonna get canceled too. So
yeah.
funny that you mentioned those guys because definitely bucket list shows, but with this whole coronavirus, everything's kind of up in the air. So
Actually, I've seen Whitesnake live before, but I I now have some connections with the band, so I would love to shoot them, but I haven't been able to see them. So
yeah. Oh, that's so cool. Okay, let's talk more about your concert photography. You mentioned earlier that you've only been shooting for like 2 years. Um, can you talk more about just like how you got started? I think that you mentioned like your dad is also a concert photographer. how did you guys like get back into it?
So I started concert photography about 3 months after I started my publication.
Okay.
And my dad actually went to college for photography.
Oh, nice.
Uh, but he only got back into it after we started going on the Monsters of Rock cruise again. So he basically taught me everything I know. And so I shot my first show in 2018, which was my all-time favorite band, Vixen. Uh, and from there, I just basically started shooting as many shows as I could. And I chose music and concert photography because that's really all I was interested in when I started. And I didn't even really think to try any other kinds of photography because I wasn't really interested in it. I have now. It's
Yeah.
like, it's just like music is my favorite thing ever. So that's just kind of my main thing for the moment.
Nice. I'm gonna jump down to a question that I was gonna ask later, but you were just talking about that you started your publication
Mm-hmm.
actually before you started doing concert photography. So like,
Yeah.
can you talk a little bit more about like why you started your own publication and like how that's helped you?
Yeah, so I started my own publication because I've always loved music, specifically rock and metal, and I always loved reading interviews. That was a big thing for me. So I thought it would be fun and really cool to conduct interviews myself and ask the questions I've always wanted to ask. And I honestly I never really thought about me being so young. It never even crossed my mind that that could be something that was difficult. So I kind of just went into it with the mindset that it was going to be like, I mean, I knew it was going to be hard, but I didn't think my age was really going to play a factor into it. And the reason why I made my own instead of writing for someone else is because I wanted to be responsible for my own success and not rely on an already established publication.
Yeah.
Um, and I think having my own publication, it gives me a lot more notoriety and a higher chance of getting photo passes too, which is good.
Yeah.
And it definitely, I put everything on my publication. I write myself, and most of the photography on there is my own. So it gives me a lot of firsthand experience with interacting with artists and management and other people in the industry, which is good experience to have. So that's another good thing about it.
Yeah, I was gonna say it sounds like you have a lot of connections with people in the music industry. Has that come out of you having your own publication and like reaching out to these people?
Yeah, I mean, definitely having my own publication has helped me get a lot of connections, and also again, for me, everything leads back to the Monsters of Rock cruise. Like that's a big thing that has been a big part of my life. Like that's another place where I get a lot of connections because all the musicians are just roaming around, so it's easy to just talk to them or hand them a business card quickly or anything like that. So that's another good way I get connections, and of course festivals and shows and all that. But that's definitely the main thing for me.
It sounds like you're really good at networking, which is one thing that I think a lot of people struggle with. So it's great to hear that, like, with Monsters of Rock Cruise, you were saying, like, you could just go give them your business card. I think that's a
Yeah,
thing that, like, people don't want to, I don't know, like, go out and annoy people by, like, handing
yeah.
out information. But it shows that like you've obviously been successful with doing that. So do you have any like networking tips for those that are watching that like maybe are uncomfortable with it or something?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, for the longest time, I was that person that was super uncomfortable doing it. And I got to a point where I decided that it would benefit me a lot more to just do it and get over myself than to not do it and have nothing come from it. So I figured I might as well just do it and get over my social anxiety here.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I totally get that because like I definitely have like social anxiety about going up and being like,
Mhm.
"Hi, I'm so and so. Here's my
Yeah,
business card." Like that scares me so much, but at the same time when you're talking about like artists, they probably have so many people coming up to them anyway. So if you make a fool out of yourself, like you just
yeah,
blend in with
exactly.
the rest of the people.
Totally.
Ah, that sounds so cool. Can we talk a little bit more about the Monsters of Rock cruise? Because
Totally.
this is something that I've been wanting to go on this cruise, but I'm deathly seasick. So like I don't think I'll ever go on a cruise, but the Monsters of Rock cruise looks so cool.
Yeah.
And every time that it comes up, people post about it and my whole feed is just full of amazing photos of like people partying and hanging out and just like taking incredible photos. So can we talk about like how you got involved in the Monsters of Rock cruise? Like, did you go before you started becoming part of the media team, and like how did that progress?
Yeah, so the first time I went on the Monsters of Rock cruise was in 2018. I was 11 years old.
Nice.
And then I wasn't shooting that year, but my dad, that's when he started getting back into photography. So he wasn't on the media team yet either. He would take pictures just from the crowd as just for fun. And then, so we went on that year, and then we went on again in 2019. And again, my dad was taking pictures that year, but when we went on in 2019, I had started photography, and so I brought a camera and just took pictures from the crowd as a fan. And then in the end of 2019, in about, I think it was December, my dad got a message from the woman who puts together the media team. And she asked me and him if we would be interested in doing photography at the photo experiences and shows on the cruise. And of course we said yes. So that's how that happened. And then we got on the cruise this year, and the camaraderie between the photographers and the media staff is amazing, and everyone in the pit is as professional as it gets. And they're really respectful of other photographers' space, and it's just an experience that cannot be replicated by anything else.
That's so cool. Yeah, I've heard, like I said, only good things about it. Do you have any tips on like advice for photographers who would love to be a part of a bigger media team? Like how to get that ball rolling?
Yeah. Well, for me, like, I think it's really important to give someone, especially someone who's putting together a media team, to give people a reason to notice your photography, because that's something that was important for me, is make sure you know the right people and you give them a reason to want to hire you, because that's really important. And just for me, it was a matter of continuing to put in hard work and to not get discouraged if the opportunities aren't coming, because they will eventually.
Nice. I love that tip of like, don't get discouraged, because I think a lot of people get overwhelmed because there's so many great photographers out there. But I'm a firm believer that there's like space for everyone. So like to just keep doing what you're doing, because you're definitely going to make it if you're like positive and you keep putting out great content. So I love that little advice. Okay, let's hop back up, because another amazing thing that you have done or are doing is that you're also a musician. So I want to talk about that, because to me it sounds like your love of music came first, and then maybe being a musician, or like how has that fit in the whole like flow of like what you do? How did you become a musician, and like has that helped your career at all when it comes to photography?
Yeah, so how it started is I've basically heard hair metal my whole life. That's what my parents listened to, so I've kind of just grown up with that. When I was around like 9 years old, I bought my first guitar, and that's kind of where everything started. And then I played guitar since then, and then I went on the Monsters of Rock cruise in 2018 for the first time. That really changed my whole perspective. That was the first time I saw a concert. So, and then it was like 30 concerts in a week. So it was just like sensory overload completely, and that definitely changed the game for me. And now I started playing bass about a year ago, and I love that too. So.
That's so cool. Are you in a band, or do you just try and do like your own solo stuff? Do you write music? Like, what are your goals when it comes to being a musician?
Yeah, I mean, right now I'm just kind of working on. I'm always writing, but like in terms of music career right now, I'm kind of just trying to work on my craft before I go out and try to put anything out or record anything.
Yeah.
Definitely that's something I want to do in the future for sure. As for if I want to do a solo music or in a band, I'm not really sure. I would definitely be interested in doing either or both. So it's just a matter of what opportunities come up in the future.
Okay, so this is something that you've mentioned a few times, and I definitely want to bring it up, because age is something that I actually talk a lot about, because I've had quite a few people come up to me and talk about like kind of ageism, I would call it, in the music industry and the photography industry field. So like, let's talk about your age for a little bit, because you've done a lot for how young you are, and it's definitely proven that like age is not a barrier in a lot of things. So I love that you're proving that and showing that you can do all of these amazing things when like you're not 21. So let's talk about like your age specifically. Do you feel like it's held you back? Like, have you had any issues with being young, getting into venues, anything like that?
Well, like I mentioned earlier, it's definitely something that I never thought would be a problem. I don't really know why it didn't cross my mind really, but it's I've never really put limits on myself. It's more everyone else that kind of does that. But I don't really think my age has held me back from opportunities. The only thing is like obviously I can't get into venues sometimes, which is difficult. But even like there's a venue here where they have a lot of hair metal bands play, and it's 21 and over. But now I've got connections with the venue, and so I'm able to get in and do certain things if I'm doing photography there and whatever. So I have that, which there's a way around some things too. Like there's ways to get into those kinds of venues, and of course I figured it out because I'm the person that always needs to get in. So, but definitely, I don't think I've really had anyone be rude or anything because of my age. Actually, like surprisingly enough, it benefits me most of the time. Like if I'm in a photo pit at a show, I stand out a lot more to artists and people in general, which is nice. And a lot of time, actually, artists will pose for me on stage, and which is always good. I get cool shots from that. So, and also because people are more likely to notice me, I also get remembered. So then people find me on social media and remember who I am from whatever show they saw me at, and so that's also a really good thing about that.
Yeah, I can definitely see the whole like using it to your advantage if it makes you stand out. Like I just think that it's so cool that you've mentioned a few times now that like you don't let things hold you back and you've found ways around it. And I definitely think a lot of like younger people that have started, that have talked to me about like advice, kind of get a negative like feeling about things. They're like, I can't do it because I'm not 21, like I can't get into that venue or whatever. And you've proven that that's not the case, and like using those connections to your benefit and everything. I think that's such a great idea, and I love that you don't think that it's held you back and that it hasn't, because that just makes my heart like very warm, because like sometimes I get very frustrated with this industry that I know quite a few people that have had impacts with either ageism, feeling like they're being discriminated against, or like sexism. And it makes me very frustrated, but like hearing someone come in and like tackle things with such a positive attitude, I think is a great idea for everyone to like take example of. So thank you for sharing that.
Anytime.
The only other thing that I kind of wanted to ask is I'm gonna say this with a caveat that I'm hoping with like how positive you've been and everything, you haven't experienced any like additional like sexism in the industry or anything that like concerns you because you're a woman working in the industry, have you?
I think if anything happens, it's usually just like dirty looks from other photographers. Like nothing really a big deal. Like there's just that, and it's there. And I think it's a combination of me being a female and also being so young. It's usually a combination of the two. And the only like one bad thing I've had happen that sticks out to me is I was shooting a band called Last in Line, in a theater, and somebody in the crowd said to me, "Oh, so you're one of the band members' daughters?" And I was like, "No." And they're like, "Oh, you're just shooting for fun." And I was like, "No, I'm an actual concert photographer doing my job here." But other than that, I've had nothing really bad happen, which is really good. And most people are super supportive. Both photographers and musicians are usually really cool with it. So
That's great. That's really good to hear, and that also makes me happy. that makes me laugh so hard, the like side eye from other photographers, because I think everyone that has ever come on to like a video interview with me, we all mention it somehow. We're like, yeah, we've gotten like dirty looks from other photographers before. I'm like, why is this so commonplace? But like at the same time, it's like, that's, you know, if that's happening, it's so minimal at this point. It's like,
exactly,
dude, you do you, side eye at me all you want. That's really funny. We like bolted through your questions. I love all of your answers, but the last question that I have is, what was like the best piece of advice that you've ever received that you would love to pass on?
I think the best piece of advice I've received is actually from another female concert photographer. She told me to stay true to who you are and to not forget why you started.
That's really nice. I love that. Okay, do you have anything else that you want to say before I end this? Because I feel like we packed a lot of information in here, like really quickly. I'm so excited about this. But like, if there's anything else that you want to say, now's your chance, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know. I think we covered a lot. So I think
we did cover a lot.
Yeah.
That was really funny because like when I was writing up my questions for you, I was like, I have so much that I want to ask, because like seriously, the amount of things that you do, and I actually want to say I applaud you for your social media use too, because I think one thing that people can definitely take as advice from you and like inspiration is from how much you use social media and like how much engagement you get on your stuff. Because I think like even on like your like personal or general Facebook page, people are like always engaging with you and always commenting and talking. So like you have those connections. It's like going back to the thing that we were talking about with like networking, is like you're very good at like engaging with people and communicating. So just wanted to throw that out there because I thought that was really nice to see. And a lot of people kind of disappear off of social media and only post when they have to. So do you have any, like, speaking of that, do you have any like social media or like engagement tips that you would like to pass on?
Yeah, sure. I definitely think it's important to keep posts up, and whether it's on your feed or on your Instagram story or whatever, just keep stuff going up constantly, because more people will see it the more you post. And also, like, even if people are just commenting a couple of emojis or whatever, just like, I think it's important to reply to people and acknowledge the people who are commenting, because those are the people that care enough to comment, and I think it's important to respond to them, because then that makes them feel like they're noticed, which I think is really important.
Speaking of social media, where can people find you if they want to follow you or your publications?
Yeah, so on Instagram, my personal page is @ShannonWilk_, and my publication is @Rockin Interviews on Instagram, and Facebook is the same as that.
So thank you so much, Shannon, for joining me today. I think that we packed so much like advice and great information in your interview. So I really, really appreciate you coming on here and talking about your experience. So again, thank you. And I will link all of Shannon's stuff below, so like everyone can find you. Please go send some love to Shannon because you're incredible, absolutely incredible. But yeah, thanks again. And thank you guys for watching. Bye.